Yep, live.
Welcome. This is a 212 Men Live broadcast for the last time in this Ashes series.
Yep.
We're day two. England versus Australia, 2-1 in the series. England looking to keep their fine record of Australia not winning over here since 2002. Australia looking to rectify that themselves. How are you, Bob?
I'm good.
We're in that gnawing period. What I mean by this is where it's gnawing at me. We could have had these out sooner. Steve Smith's had a very close call run out.
What did you think of the run out?
I didn't see it.
You not see
But
it?
it sounded like it was very close.
Yeah, it was one of them where Bairstow's partially taken the stumps with his gloves before the ball's in it. That was one controversy or potential controversy around it. And then ultimately, I do think that the bail just hadn't quite left the groove before.
Just fine little bits of detail, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it was Mark Elam who played for Nottinghamshire. It's his son who was doing the subfielding, so we had a potential.
It's a good gig, isn't it? Is he an actual player though?
Yeah.
So he's a proper cricketer.
Yeah, we had a potential Gary Pratt moment.
Yeah, I did feel Gary Pratt when I got in the car and I heard it on TMS.
Yeah, he was lightning quick off the boundary. Ricky Ponting, ironically, was on the boundary. Not on the boundary, in commentary.
On Sky, yeah.
On Sky. And not to be. It feels like that almost summed up this series in many ways. It's been a bit of an almost series. It's almost had the drama of 05, but not quite. And I think that was quite a good symbol, emblematic of it.
So where we're at here, Australia need 56 to reach parity. Smith's obviously prevalent at one end. Cummins has shown that he can bat in this series. I don't know. It's one of them now. The game feels like a couple more, 10, 20 more runs, and it's on a knife edge. If England were to wrap this up quickly, you'd say they'd have a good chance. But this partnership's kind of, just like I said, just gnawing at England at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, Cummins is... it feels like from his bowling performance yesterday that he's right up for this game. He has to win this game, I suppose, to draw himself into Ashes captaincy history. So I'm sure he'll be well up for this batting performance. He's a decent batsman, really, isn't he? You know, he's coming in at number 9. You're not worried about that as an Aussie fan.
You just feel this is such a vital wicket because you've got Hazlewood and Murphy coming in. Well, Murphy then Hazlewood.
Yeah.
Murphy's very new to Test cricket, but Hazlewood's a proper number 11. So, new balls activated. What have we seen so far? I've seen Anderson bowl. There seems to be quite a bit of in-swing coming in.
Yeah, Broad had Cummins out initially, but it was overturned. It was just hooping past the leg stump. So it was one of them rightly not out in the end, overturned. And yeah, Broad's been brilliant again, hasn't he?
He's been brilliant. I think one thing I just want to touch on here is we talk about psychological stuff in cricket. Put yourself in both teams' shoes now. If you're Australia, what are you thinking? I mean, right now, 55 looks quite lengthy, doesn't it, in terms of that? If England were to bowl a hat-trick now and get all these wickets, you'd be pretty pleased with 55 lead, wouldn't you? At what point for England does it start to get almost a little bit irrelevant, this lead?
So I think that when England came into this final session with a lead of 97, they're saying anything above a lead of 50 is brilliant. I think on this pitch where we've not seen the highest of scoring games, a lead of 50 is actually quite a large lead. Mm-hmm. Then it dwindles in reality, and you've just got it becomes a 2 innings game, really, doesn't it? We don't want them getting past us. That's one thing I'd say. Is any lead for Australia, I think, is a real advantage, given the fact that we've got the Moeen Ali injury. I think that's massive.
Yeah.
Smith averages 100 at the Oval.
Really?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, when he had that amazing series last time out, the Oval was actually one of the games he fell short, wasn't it? Which ultimately England won at the end. I was at the last Oval Test match for the Ashes in 2019. It was another great series, wasn't it? Hopefully England can replicate that again and make this 2-2.
Anderson's not pulled up trees again, has he?
No, he did have that wicket of, did he get Mitch Marsh, I think?
Yeah.
Earlier on in this innings, which would have been a breakthrough for him. But yeah. Interested to see what happens next.
Yeah. He's, I was saying to somebody at work this morning that almost with Anderson's personality is it all smoke and mirrors? And all this talk of wanting to stay on is actually that he just didn't want the fanfare. and he might, say at the end of the game, yeah, this is my last game.
Interestingly enough, I was speaking to a mate of mine in Australia, and he was saying, in many ways, Broad's put on a higher pedestal over in Australia through an Australian lens than Anderson is.
Yeah.
They feel Broad's a bit more of a bigger game player in the big moments. Is that a fair comment?
Broad's now taken the most English wickets against Australia. He has 150, and I think on the graphic that I saw earlier, Anderson only has 116. So Broad's definitely, I think Broad has played a few more games than Anderson against Australia, but he's performed better against Australia than Anderson, I suppose. Anderson has a really bad record in Australia, and has not had the best series this time.
A loose ball from Chris Woakes, then an inside edge that nearly does it nearly cannon the stumps? Not a million miles off. It ends up going for 4. And this is when you're the batting side, you suck up these kind of runs, don't you? These are the runs you lick your lips at. But England have got to make it count now, I'm afraid, because it's not going to be easy coming out batting this later on, is it? How long we got left?
Got a bit brighter.
We've got an hour and a half left.
It's got a bit brighter, hasn't it? But this pitch has done not done loads, but it's done enough all the way through the game that, yeah, you don't want 10 minutes or so, do you? That's very English thing, isn't it?
It's one of those I was saying to you though before we went on air. England have got a good batting lineup for having a lead. I don't fancy us at parity or when we've got 20 to knock off.
Well, like I was saying to you earlier, we basically, when we start this innings, we are 0 for 1, aren't we? Because Ali looks like he's out of this match.
Can you not swing the bat? Is it how bad is he on the field?
It'll be because he's not been on the field. He won't be able to come in until number 11, will he? Now,
what is that a rule?
You can't come in until you've seen out the amount of time that you've been off the field, unless you come in at number 11.
Who's going to bat 3?
Yeah, Root. I mean, there is like a wild suggestion that you could put Chris Woakes up there to bat at 3.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, transpose the Ali model again, I don't think that would be the best idea. But yeah, I suppose Root will have to do it. I don't have loads of sympathy for this Root 3 and 4 thing, to be honest. I think if the balance of the side is best with Root at 3.
It's one of those. One of the biggest arguments people will chuck at Root is that he's pretty much. It's not uncommon for him not to be coming in at 3 anyway, isn't it? With obviously the rate of wickets that usually fall.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is just a very psychological thing, and the team management obviously like to give the best player what they want. I don't think that's a bad thing, but
in certain scenarios, I think it almost is forced, isn't it?
Yeah. The Moeen Ali thing was a good workaround, but in this position now, I think you just have to say, right, Root's 3. You can't go for too many other master plans.
What's your gut saying here now? Do you think Australia are going to get down? Going to chase this down?
My gut's saying that they'll get parity. You've got to stop them getting past us. And Wood's going to be the big factor, isn't he, late in the day?
It's just sorry to interrupt. He's just showing replays of this Steve Smith dismissal, which we spoke about when we first went on air. This is a huge moment in the Ashes.
Yeah.
In the result of this game in the series, because I think at the time of this, aren't Australia 90 or so behind?
No, about 70, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah. Still, only about 20
it's just
minutes
that
ago.
What I spoke about earlier. What's to come in, knowing that the two batsmen are officially tail enders. You think England could be batting by now if this had gone out?
Yeah. What the hell is going on with your phone?
My phone. I'm getting mired. Aberdeen, Scotland.
I mean, did you see that catch from Root today?
No, I didn't.
No, it was a stunner. It was a stunner. Just
it's about time we caught one, isn't
it? Yeah, I mean, it was another classic England where Burstow's. It's an easy catch for Burstow and he leaves it, and Root takes a stunner. But a
mate of mine is really not happy with Burstow's keeping. He's dubbed him Iron Gloves.
He's not the best keeper in the world, is he? You've got to admit.
Yeah, I mean, don't say that to Johnny because he gets upset. But it's certainly been. If you look back on this and why England haven't won this series, they've not lost the series officially yet. But while they've not won it, it'll be certainly one of the bullet points, won't it?
Yeah, I think there was a general air of sloppiness in the first two games, wasn't there? Whether it comes to maybe not quite being as ruthless as they could be when Root was smashing it on that first day declaration. When it comes to all the catches that they dropped, the no balls that they bowled, good teams like Australia are always going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you rate Cummins in the pantheon of Australian greats?
They've had so many, but I think Cummins is right up there.
Would he be in your all-time that you've seen all-time Australian 11?
So you're discounting like Dennis Lillies and all them
Yeah,
people, aren't you? They probably would, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'd have him over Brett Lee and
yeah, I'd probably go Warren, Cummins, McGrath, Johnson.
Yeah. There has to be an excess pace option for Australia, you think, doesn't there?
It's Johnson or Lee, isn't it?
Yeah.
So talking about excess pace, we're seeing Wood bowl at the moment. This series, I'm now fully in the Duncan Fletcher camp that you can't win high-class Test match cricket without over 85-mile-an-hour bowling.
Is that an official quote you said?
Yeah, that was his viewpoint. Was he wanted bowlers who could bowl within the range of 85 to 90 miles an hour. It was one of the reasons why he kind of, I suppose, Hoggard wasn't that type of bowler, but Hoggard was a bit of a.
I guess in Hoggard was probably the exception of what you get in this in this team that we've seen. So we've seen bowlers who teeter around the 80 to 85, and then we've got one, like you say, express pace option. More, you're saying in that Duncan Fletcher remit, it's the opposite. It's fast bowls and then perhaps an option that can offer you something different at low pace.
I think that Fletcher was almost the early iteration of Bazball, and it was very aggressive cricket. Peterson, Trescothick, Vaughan, aggressive batsmen on flatter pitches with fast bowlers, and I think that we've seen throughout the series, Wood has made the difference. We would. What would the scoreline look like if we didn't have Wood? The way that he brought us back into the game at Headingley was a massive factor at Old Trafford.
England had some questions to answer, didn't they? And after that second test.
And I think that if we're going to continue to play in this style, we're definitely going to be asking for flatter pitches, and therefore you're going to need faster bowlers.
Just looking at this score map now for Australia, Smith obviously at one end at 68 and Cummins the other end at 21. They've had a 50 partnership now. So it's England really, I keep saying this, England have really got to make this count now to put the stamp on this test. They don't want to give themselves loads to do second innings.
The one thing I would say about this series is it's always nip and tuck, isn't it? As soon as you think that your team's going ahead or going behind, it completely reverses. And
I think that's the why it's such a disappointment about Old Trafford and the rain, because I thought that was the first time in the series where there was a clear domination from one of the sides.
At what level of apathy do you have with this game at the moment? What does it stand?
Do you know what? I felt more deflated coming into this one as I did in the last home series in 2019 where Australia retained the Ashes at Old Trafford.
Yeah,
because I still thought we could get back at them a little bit. I don't want to sound like a bitter Englishman, because there's been a lot of stick for this, hasn't it, given out? But I kind of think it's took the wind out of the England players, the fan sails a little bit. It's kind of this dream of 3-2 was well and truly on the cards, and to be scuppered by weather, I do think it's had a bit of a psychological impact on the team. The fact you said we looked flat yesterday, and I thought we did. Did you?
Yeah, I thought more than anything the ground felt really flat yesterday. It just felt like everyone was kind of a bit over it, for want of a better phrase. And in some ways, I suppose most English fans will be a bit over it now. Definitely the non-kind of cricket tragics will be over it. It's been a good series. For me, it'll always go down.
Now this is going down as a good game, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want Australia out with 100 lead, but
I want two all. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
As an English fan, you're absolutely desperate to get 2 all, but
yeah. I guess thinking of obviously a fan perspective and what's to look forward to, this is the climax of the English summer now. We're going to have Dan Vittori there on the balcony, I believe. We're going to have obviously the 100 after that, and I think it's got a real tough job on its hands to try and build itself up after an Ashes series.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Are you excited for the 100?
2019, 4 years ago, we were blessed with I thought that was the peak summer of English
World
cricket.
Cup and Ashes in one year. It's like dreamland stuff.
That was brilliant for an English fan. You also had some of the cricket that was played in that 2019 summer. Obviously, the semi-final against Australia where we absolutely smacked them off the park. There's the final in the World Cup where Stokes obviously does what he does. And then a series that was nip and tuck. You had Archer at Lords and then Stokes at Headingley. 2019 will be a fonder summer in my memory, probably from a cricketing perspective, than this one. This one has just felt like it's not quite lived up to the hype.
Did you have an expectation we'd win this Ashes series?
No, not
I think I did.
Yeah, I know, but that's just you to a T.
No, I don't. I do think there was a real coming of age of where England have been without the Ashes for so long. I think with this Baz ball and this new approach, and given the record we had in overseas and in home tests, I think there was a real expectation amongst the public that this was the year England would retain the Ashes. So I do think that's compounded. That has compounded, obviously, with how people feel about this test. It's another year without it, where we've kind of had it snatched from us by elements.
It's another 4 years, really, isn't it? It's a very tough ask to go to Australia and win in Australia. Yeah, I didn't see us winning this series just after that World Test Championship. When you watched them, I thought they had a little bit more kind of class to go with their experience. We've got a lot of experience, and we're kind of at both ends of the scale in terms of young and old. And I just thought this baseball hadn't been round enough.
What's interesting is it feels like both teams are really placing the emphasis on the Test teams now. I think Australia always have, and you can tell that because they've built a really good team over the years, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they've neglected somewhat their white ball duties, haven't they? They've placed very little emphasis on T20, ODIs, as we know. England, I think in 2019, were coming off the back of a real forceful energy towards ODI cricket and winning the World Cup. That was the ultimate goal. And then they kind of almost like sleepwalked into an Ashes series. Steve Smith just absolutely skewed one in the air, and it's found no one. These are the things you need to go your way.
Yeah, I do feel like the game's drifting a bit for us here. It's not to be overly negative, but you just do get that feeling sometimes, don't you? Especially when the sun's out at the Oval. It starts to look easier to bat.
Couldn't you have got there, shoot bro, then?
No.
A couple of my Aussie mates were messaging me, and they were saying, "Oh, this is going to get ugly. I think Broad's going to go on one of those spells where he
did look like that."
You know what I said though? With Smith at the other end, I just feel like the worst innings of my lifetime was Edgbaston 2019 when we had them 120 for 8 and they ended up getting 300 or something like that. Peter Siddle and Lyon at one end.
I'd actually say Old Trafford was worse. Did you get a double 100 at Old Trafford last 2019? That was grim. That's the worst ever cricket.
Steve Smith has got the bit between his teeth. Now he looks like he's really ready to chase this down himself almost. Cummins hasn't really moved since that sort of sketchy 4 he got.
Cummins just needs to stay there, doesn't he? Really. That's his job.
The way it is, this is 2019 vibes. We might just have to get every other fucker out the other end and leave Smith there.
Yeah, you want almost Wood to have 6 balls at Cummins and then if you get Murphy and Hazelwood in, then Smith really has to start taking risks if Smith is still...
There's key times where it's like boxing, when to punch, when to go for it. England had an opportunity when they were 7 down and they were chasing 80. I think if Australia gets somewhere near parity, they're going to come back into the sheds and they're going to think, right, we've got a chance to bowl for this Ashes now.
I don't even think... If they get parity... What do you mean by parity? Bowled all out for parity? Because I think they're going to go past us at the moment. I think that there's a real... tempter here of if these two could go and get them to parity, Cummins sticks around for half an hour, then you can really press your foot down, can't you, as the tail comes in.
We've probably got best part of
hour and 15.
Hour and 15, yeah, I'd say so. What can happen in then, can it? In that time zone.
What England did really well this morning, and then they got the benefit from it this afternoon, was Australia went nowhere. They really dried them up and just bowled.
Oh, ball in the air.
No, that's 6 that.
What's this camera doing?
God. Oh, brilliant. Smith's gone.
Out, but that camera then.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, but to be fair,
you said it rose dead.
Well, the fielder that they were showing wasn't moving, so I was like, well, it must have gone.
Smith's out. That's a big moment.
That is a big moment.
You stop being doom and gloom. You say something remotely optimistic.
So you got to get Wood on, haven't you, against the tail?
Yeah. He's bowled some overs today, Wood, hasn't he? This is very on Steve Smith. Like, that's really out of control, isn't it? Say what if Bairstow dropped that one. Now he went for an absolute pelters, wasn't he? I'm pleased that he's
Cummins will go for it now, won't he?
He'll have to, won't he? So that's a big swing in the game now. So Australia still what, 40 odd.
Yeah, 40.
So England again get them anywhere near this total, and then England are well in the driving seat, aren't they? They've got the openers that can take the game away from Australia. That's what you've got to give England the credit. Duckett and Crawley are ideal for that scenario, aren't they?
Yeah. If we rattle them out now with a lead of 40, that is, you take my principle about Ali again. You're 40 for 1. You're not overly fussed about that situation, but
still laughing at that camera. It was focused on Matt Woodersmith, wasn't it? Or whoever was bowling it.
Down there.
It's usually Matt Wood down there, isn't it?
You've got about Ricky Ponting's been spewing this afternoon, or Matt Butcher's.
Someone throw a grip.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh. Well, I saw the article of it. I didn't see it.
Who was it doing?
No.
Was it a joke or was it like?
No, I think it was fans.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because Butcher was saying.
Happy, were you?
Butcher was saying that it was a bit far. Butcher were backing him up.
God.
Where do you stand with all that?
What, like the
crowd behaviour? What is throwing grapes the limit?
It's one of those, isn't it? When like the first thing, Australia don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to these kind of things. And you say, well, the crowd are bad because there's been times where, Australian fans have given up penalties. I think it all depends on what sort of cricket fan you are. Like for me, like when me and you were at Old Trafford on whenever it was Sunday, Labuschagne gets 100. I think it's customary for people like me and you to actually appreciate that and clap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if you looked around us, there weren't many people clapping bar Australian fans.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does vary. It does depend on what you've got. Obviously,
Where do you reckon there's a limit in behaviour? So I think the booing's fine. I think that's all a lot.
Yeah.
I think the songs, like crying on the telly and stuff, Warren got that, the Aussies do it, Bay 13 and all that stuff. I don't think there's...
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like the Lords members.
No, I didn't like that.
Quadrants.
Yeah. And there was kind of... There's a weird underlying tone to that of like, why Quadri? He wasn't really involved whatsoever.
Well, I think if you got them, I think he was... I don't know if he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think Warner got a lot of stick as well, naturally.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though.
Interestingly, did you hear another podcast we're talking about Warner's planning this kind of testimonial series next year, but they feel that it won't be that well received by the Australian public. What do you think that's all about? Because Warner's, if you look at his stats, over 2000s at test level, you think he would have the hearts and minds of the nation. But do you think just the persona and the way he's conducted himself over the years is limited into that?
I think from my understanding of like the pre-Sandpaper Gate Ashes, the pre-Sandpaper Gate Australia side wasn't the most loved side, actually. And was seen as being a bit like too far and a bit of a stretch on what's reasonable. And I suppose Warner is the pin-up for that behaviour at that time. He was bad. There were times where he was a nightmare.
You see a different David Warner now, don't you? A lot more mellowed. He was like a yappy sort of hyena when he.
And don't get me wrong, like
punched Joe Root, didn't he?
Players are allowed to change. Like Ben Stokes wasn't an angel in the early part of his career. He was breaking his hand on lockers, scandals with the press, and all stuff like that. But you are allowed to develop and grow.
A couple of years of finding yourself,
Yeah, you are allowed to develop and grow as a person. I think Warner's a good example as much as Stokes will be a good example of that. He seems like someone who gets along with a lot of the players. He gets along with Bairstow, doesn't he? They had a great partnership for
they're good mates.
Hyderabad.
Yeah. As you suspected, mate, Matt Wood's back into the attack for this tail. We've got Todd Murphy, and we'll soon have Hazelwood.
Yeah, you've got to get Wood on.
You think Cummins will start to swing the bat a bit now?
Wood to Murphy here, you're looking short balls, Yorkers, pushing back.
This is the scenario that they want. And this is what Wood's in the side for sure. Do you know much about Todd Murphy's first class stats?
No. Well, he's not played any first class cricket, He's only played about... If he's played more than 10 games, I'd be surprised.
So what's this? Where is this like?
So he averages
elevation to fame.
Averages low 20s in Australia first class cricket in the games that he's played. He had a really good tour of India where he outbowled Lyon, and people were starting to say, should he be coming in for Lyon? Now, what's really interesting is I saw a flashback to Lyon's first wicket, I think, or yeah, it was his first wicket, and they were showing his first class stats. Lyon only played 11 first class matches when he came into the Test side.
So do you
So
think, with this in mind, should England not be hesitating to blood Rehan Ahmed into the side?
Rehan Ahmed doesn't bowl for Leicester at all.
That's what I mean. So
But
I'm saying people who aren't as, as advanced in first class cricket, if we spot talent, should we blood it in at the highest level if we think there's potential there?
I just
Or do you believe in? Do you want people to be, do the yards in county cricket before they come into the Test side?
I think that Vaughan, Trescothick, Crawley, who else would you say? Josh Tong is another example of players who didn't have great first class records when they came into the Test side, but showed they could do it at the Test level. Obviously, playing for Worcester and doing well for Worcester is very different to doing well for England, because you play on different pitches, you play a different brand of cricket, a different style of cricket. It is very different. Should you worry about blooding players in that are inexperienced in first class cricket if you see potential in them to succeed at Test level? I don't think you should worry about that. But Rehan Ahmed just doesn't. He never bowls for Leicester. There's nothing to go on. He's hardly bowled this year. He just bats. He bats six. He gets loads of runs. Scored a century this year. Got a few 40s. Really useful batsman.
He's obviously a bowler first, surely, isn't he?
No, I think
Is he deemed a batsman?
Leicester play him as a batsman.
Interesting.
So I think what you would be looking at is, could you fit him in the top 7 as like a Moeen Ali style, not batting at number 3, but if he was to bat at number 7, would he give you a spin option, an aggressive spin option that Root could maybe do a holding option and you bounce the ball in there? But I think it's premature to think that Rehan Ahmed can be England's spinner.
Interesting.
I think they should take him to India. I think there's loads of like players they should take to India. Like Will Jacks can do a bit of a Moeen Ali job out there. Joe Root can do a bit of off spin. Take Jack Leach. Take Rehan Ahmed. You can get lots of spinners out there without taking loads of bowlers.
I got asked the question today. Where do you see Moeen Ali? And I think you'll call it a day after this one.
I saw a tweet from Will McPherson saying that he was scheduled to retire, so I don't think there's any whispers of him staying on. I think you'd be naive as an England fan to think that he won't be really useful down in India in January. I think he is underrated, but I think he's probably he's a lot older than you think as well, Moeen Ali.
36.
Yeah. He's one of the older ones in the side.
Well, it's about cricketers. I feel like you blink and they're like 31 to 36.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems to like have years where they stall at 30 and 31.
Yeah. I agree. Because Bairstow's like 35, 36.
Is he?
Yeah. He's one of the older ones. He's older than like I think Stokes, Root and Butler and Wokes are all at a similar age, maybe like 31, 32. And then Bairstow is a little bit older than the rest.
Let's go see what Twitter's saying.
I think Wokes, we've got to a position now with Wokes that he has to be a first pick, really, for me in England.
Yeah. It'll be one of those. It was like you feel like you're talking about some kind of like food and beverage product, but like Wokes doesn't travel well, doesn't he? So I don't think he'll be first on the team sheet for India, but certainly I think for home series in England now, given the stage in which Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad are at in the career, I don't see why he wouldn't be that first choice. And his batting just again adds such a bit of stability to England once you get past 7, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think my view would be now, next summer, I'd want Wokes batting at 8 and taking the new ball with Robinson. I am getting to the point where I think next summer is a really good summer to blood youngsters in, because Sri Lanka and West Indies aren't going to be the biggest threat to games, and them two taking the new ball feels like the right time, really. I am getting a bit more ruthless on the Broad and Anderson thing, although Broad's been brilliant, I must admit.
Just be interested to see where they're both at after this series and what their own personal situation is.
Broad's destined for a Sky slot, isn't he?
He is, but he's also bowling so well. So still, it's whether you just you look at Jimmy now. It's whether do you bow out while you're playing well? A lot of players do, don't they?
Broad looking at Jimmy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. Looking at Jimmy ourselves and how he's performed in this series, is it necessarily? Do you want that where like you go on for that 1 year too many, and then you just
but who are you talking about? The one going on 1 year too many, Broad or Anderson?
Anderson.
Because I think that you're actually right there in what you're saying about Broad. Is will Broad look at Anderson where he's been in this series and think,
I'm only like a summer away from it all drying up and being a bit like sluggish, everything being a bit.
Exactly that, and it's where Broad looks at Anderson there and thinks, well, I can't be asked with that. I can't be asked with that being my future next summer. I love the Ashes. I love Ashes cricket.
I just wonder whether Broad is that's exactly him. Is that what he's got his love for, Ashes cricket? He's gonna have to wait a long time for another home series in this country.
2.5 years, I think now.
Till they come back here.
No, till
right
an Ashes series. Yeah,
Broad will be near 40 then, won't he?
Yeah, he'd be like 39, won't he? He's not making it to the Australian Ashes. He's 25, 26.
It feels like either now or it's going to be like showcase centre next summer, doesn't it, for a few players?
Yeah, which the ruthless part of me thinks you can't afford that.
Well, you maybe can against this sort of opposition. Just interesting, but where we're at now in this test match, trail by 42 Australia. They don't seem to be going very far. Is it an advantage for England to wind down the rest of this day and look to either finish this off early tomorrow morning and bat again or go in tonight?
I think you want to go in as early as possible, don't you? You just want to get them out. I think that England have bowled really well today by drying up the runs, and they should take the same approach with the tail. It's just, bowl a good line of length, make sure they don't go anywhere, see if you can draw them into a false shot. Cummins will play his shots. He's the one who's going to be responsible for scoring the runs. But you want to bat tonight. It's sunny. Get out there.
It's just whether, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Late evening, Cummins onto bowl, England 24 for 3.
You can't play with that though.
No,
in mind,
I don't think Baz Ball embodies that. That's just the ghouls of the previous regimes. I think.
It would be mental if now England said, right, for the next hour we're going to bowl to try and not bat.
No, I don't think that. I just think that these two, maybe not so much Cummins, but Murphy doesn't look like he's the sort of person that can take the scoreboard over. Looks like he's just surviving, especially against Wood.
Yeah, this is perfect, isn't it? Cummins takes the single, Murphy's on strike, 5 balls from Wood at Murphy. You want to get a wicket early on in this over and get at Hazelwood.
Hazelwood looks to me like a walking LBW kind of wicket.
Yeah. Big lad, big pads.
Big heavy pad.
Yeah. I was watching at the lunch break, they've been doing this series of Broad's greatest ever spells. I think they've dubbed it the Magnificent 7. So 7 spells where he took 5 wickets.
You could watch that. Oh, hello.
Took 5 wickets within the spell. That's a 6.
6 there for Todd Murphy. Goodness me.
Just helped it on his way there, hasn't it?
Yeah. There's so much pace coming off it. It's actually a really good shot.
So they're saying this Magnificent 7 are the 7 spells that he took 5 wickets within a spell. And the one that they were showing was Broad at the Oval 2009. Watson, he was walking pads, wasn't he? Just absolute, NASA was asking him, how do you think you got Watson, LBW? Just massive pads. That was a bleak era of Australian cricket, wasn't it?
It was. Shane Watson beats himself up a lot, didn't he? He said did he go on to say that he was always trying to be Australia's Freddie Flintoff?
Yeah, he's written a book, hasn't he? Winning the Inner Battle.
Now I believe sells sportswear, doesn't he? Have like a sports retail shop, something like that.
Got like a cricket supplies shop, T20 Stars, I think it is. He's in the commentary box as well. He's all right for an Australian commentator. He's decent because I think they do have some shocking commentators. That lot. Who do you think's the worst English commentator?
I feel a bit harsh here.
Oh, no.
Strauss can lose me a bit when he's on comms. When he's on comms.
Counting the amount of people
They're
square
inseparable, aren't they? Labuschagne and Smith. I just put 2 and 2 together when I think of those. A little glance off his legs there from Murphy.
It looked like they were just counting how many people were behind square then, didn't it, the Australian team? It'd be a no ball if you had 3 behind square. It's just, they're so busy, aren't they, Smith and Labuschagne?
The cricket freaks, though, both of them. They love it. They love the game so much. It's so fine margins, that Bairstow run out again. It's showing it again.
But that's one thing that sometimes I think England could get better at, is when you watch Steve Smith, he's so desperate. Labuschagne's the same. They're so desperate to score runs. I think England, this approach is well and good, but, being desperate at times, really.
Just sometimes that we don't switch on in sessions. No. I think there's been sessions here where England have just been a bit asleep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely agree. It's been one of those series, hasn't it, where England have just always looked like a little bit casual at times. I mean, he's out now, so it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, he added on another 30 odd, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, maybe. Even Cummins.
So 33 to go.
Murphy
on strike. Tail is wagging a little bit.
We just get him for parity. We'll just have to go out and score some runs, won't we?
Swing and a miss there. End of the over, I think.
Who's your man for the third innings?
I think you've got to look at the positive run scorers, haven't you? I don't think it doesn't look like the sort of innings for like a
who's not positive.
Know what I mean by that? It doesn't look like an innings where you can sort of dig in there and just sort of grind out a total. I think wickets are going to fall, so I think you're going to be looking for people who can take the upper hand. I'm looking at Crawley to get off to a good start. One of the openers, Duckett or Crawley. Obviously, Root is your banker, isn't he?
Yeah.
What Stokes got in for the last innings of the series? I think you're going to look at those. What about you?
I think it's...
I'm not expecting a ton of runs from Moeen.
Moeen can't bat, I've told you that.
Well, he can at 11.
Well, yeah, he's not going to do anything then, is he?
I'm sure he can hold a bat. He can't move very well.
Yeah.
You pulled your groin.
I don't know. Sometimes I give up. How's Moeen in the conversation for that? I want who's going to be the...
Well, he obviously he can swing a bat, can't he? That's why I said I'm not banking on Moeen.
Right, okay. I thought it was a given.
Very logical.
I thought it was a given. But I think it's got to be Root. I think Root just...
Brook, he's in form, is he?
Brook's in form, yeah.
We've not seen the explosive Brook we saw in the Windsor either.
No. And probably against Australia, they've got a few more tools than Pakistan have. I think Brook's showed himself that he can do it at this level. I've been really impressed with Brook. I just feel like sometimes the Root is when you need him the most. You'd love him to step up in this situation now and get us a 100, 150. Completely put the game out of sight of Australia.
We're potentially going to see 20 wickets fall in 2 days here, Bot. So what's that got to say about the likelihood of big scores happening in the second innings?
You're looking again for about a 250, 300, aren't you? Catch that? Nope.
It's like another boundary here.
Yeah. Who's impressed you more in this series, Crawley or Duckett? Who's your candidate?
I think Crawley, because I think a lot of people expected Crawley to perform very badly, and I think when you take it away, he's had a good series.
And
I think what he's proven as well, he's found a niche. We've got plenty of batsmen in this country that could probably stick around, do a job at opening or free, not set the world alight, but get some steady 40s and things like that. Like your Alex Lees and your Denleys and people like that. Rory Burns, who do it for the counties, and they're very good cricketers. Give them the juice. We found someone here who's found a niche of being able to play quality fast bowling really well.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. To phrase the question differently, then, who do you think's more likely to get more test runs, Duckett or Crawley?
I'd say Crawley based on age.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I do. I think Crawley's got a long-term future in this side. And
yeah.
You'd argue that he could even be captain material one day. Not just because I think he's going to be a great leader, but captains generally have to be players that you can see being in the side for a decent period.
Mm.
And if you look at it right now, Brooks, another suggestion. I'm not saying we have a captain debate now,
Pope's vice captain.
Pope's vice captain. Is there still a few question marks on Pope, or do you think they're pretty pleased with
him? I think they like him, don't they? I think it's a similar theme to Crawley, that they think that he's got the skills and temperament to do it at the test level. He reminds me so much of Bell in terms of his temperament, as well as his style of play. Is that I imagine him to kind of crack it a bit later in his career, be a bit inconsistent in the early half of his career, and then probably you'll really start to see the proper Ollie Pope once he gets to about 28, 29. Murphy's putting on some runs there.
This is frustrating for England. Lead now 24-20.
So
we're not really. This is not really any. Once you get below 20 for me, when it comes to chasing second in his totals, it really doesn't make much of a difference.
I'm not interested in the lead now. I think it's irrelevant. It's getting them out before or at a maximum parity. I don't want them having a lead, because that's really frustrating from what we've done in this today.
What's this saying here, Bot? Are England not bowling well enough, or do you think there's still runs to be scored here?
I think the sun's just come out a bit, hasn't it? The pitch might have lost a little bit. This ball hasn't. That last ball that we had, it just started to do it a little bit later on in the innings. They got it moving. Ironically, when they were trying to change the ball, and that happens, doesn't it? Not all balls, but not all times in the day can it be hooping around corners. It is just finding a way when it's like this to nab these last 2 wickets.
This is proper Test cricket, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
it really is. It's we've bar the shithouse rain we had in the last Test match, everything's been brilliant.
This is
we've said it all along. We can want to win and want to draw and that kind of thing, but it'll generally have inspired people, and that you can be sure next time around, because you're right. Let's presume England bombing Australia like they always do. Yeah. There'll be a hunger and appetite to beat Australia again. The crowds will sell out, no matter how many franchises there are pumping around the globe. I think that's for sure.
I think there's that's where I'm at now. When I finish this series, I'm well up for cricket, well up for Test cricket, well up for Ashes cricket.
Yeah, it's sparked your actual enthusiasm, hasn't it?
But that's why I'm starting to get into the position of thinking about Anderson and Broad's futures. I'm starting to think I want youngsters in.
You're quite invested into now England making like I said to you today, to evolve this foundation they built, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you see something good building here?
I just think that we started to sort the batting. We're not as reliant on Root and Stokes as we once were. We've got players that can contribute all the way down from 1 to 7. And now it feels like we need to correct the bowling a little bit. We need to decide who the spinner is. I think ultimately it'll probably be Leach. I've got no issue with that.
No.
And then it's how to find the makeup of the side so that we have bowlers who can take 20 Test wickets, because it's not easy to take.
Another 6 there for Murphy.
I don't know if you go to a little bit of one-day bowling here. A bit of
was that 6 or a 4?
6, I think. Slower balls and Yorkers, and just think how would I do this in the white ball format, because just started to push it, haven't they? He doesn't look like an idiot with the bat, does he?
Not at all, no. It's quite strong on the leg side. 2 great 6s. Interesting to see what part he plays in the second innings, Todd Murphy. I didn't see much of Australia's bowling, but from what I gather, he took 2 wickets.
Yeah, he bowled quite well. He got Ali when Ali was going for it when he was injured.
There was a good bit of tactics. I think they intentionally stretched him, didn't they? Knowing that he would have to really find himself in an area of discomfort. Yeah.
And then who else did he get? He got someone who, I can't remember who it was now, but they were just getting after him a little bit, and he bowled a bit more of a one-day trajectory skiddier and got through him. He doesn't look. He looks like a decent kind of replacement for Lyon. He's the kind of spin bowler that if he came into the England side, he'd be saying, right, well, we need to invest in this lad.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of the bowlers that I'd want to invest in after Broad and Anderson, I think Robinson is a shoe-in. I like Cook down at Essex. Yeah, they're very similar.
Not Alistair Cook, of course.
No,
Sam Cook,
Sam Cook. Yeah,
not the singer, of course.
no, not the singer. I like him. I like he's got a similar first class record.
He's not
so
very quick, is he?
no, he's not quick. He might be one that you have to interchange with Robinson. And
Where's Sam Curran at in his Test career?
I think Sam Curran's one that he's not quite good enough to do any of the disciplines.
No
That's
way.
6 again.
It's a big 6.
I don't think it's working this tactic. They're not very good bouncers, them, are they? You know, they're like
they're at a manageable height, aren't they?
Yeah, not high enough.
Jimmy's just been given a wide, so it gets in your head, doesn't it? For the previous delivery.
I don't love the line of it though either.
We're getting a bit of the Mark Wood medicine here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Must have frustrated Australia. England must have been like 200 for 7 or something. Must have been.
Yeah.
Wood comes out and swings a few.
Looks like a Rushton.
I was going to say it looks like one of Rushtons.
I think you're not going to get Wood very often, so you have to decide who your battery of fast bowlers are.
I'd like Mark Wood to pitch one up now, would you?
Yeah. But he's
Goes
coming
on down
round
the
in it,
wicket,
so you're
so
looking to spear it in. Big Yorker, wide of the
13
crease.
off this over.
Got 2 balls left, hasn't he? Don't think this is a good idea.
He's not wide again, surely.
Tight that one.
What far for it? What do you want to eat after this? Curry or pizza?
What do you fancy? I'm easy.
That generally means you've got a hidden thought away.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Curry is bring your own beer.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I quite like that concept.
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent little curry house.
Get a bottle of wine from your mates.
Yeah, could do.
I like
Does
curry
wine go with curry?
I think it does.
I think you just like wine.
No. I think sometimes beer can be overbloat you with curry. Get your suggestions in.
Yeah, and then the pizza place. You know the pizza place, don't you? You're really into wings, aren't you?
Not really, no.
You always get them.
I like pizza and salad and red wine. That's my combination.
You said to me before the curry idea came up,
the wings
should we go to pizza and wings?
That's say pizza and beer.
I don't love wings, mate. I prefer it more.
They're a bit messy, aren't they?
Yeah, I prefer it when it's like boneless. Do you know what I mean?
I get a little bit uncomfortable with bones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I prefer chicken strips.
You do them?
I guess so. Yeah.
Sunlight coming in now from the over-under. Is that what you call it?
I don't know. You always call that a different thing every time beginning with V. I think they call it like Velux windows, but I don't know. Skylight. Call it a skylight.
I had a mate who used to have one of them directly above his bed. I can't be good for sleeping.
He used to put plates and dirty dishes out of it. He wasn't. Yeah. So, you'd hate to be his mum and dad, wouldn't you? Coming out in the morning as a blooming curry. The seagulls attacking it. So what do you think of the Oval? It's starting to become a big ground now, isn't it?
I think the Oval could be my favourite ground in the UK.
You reckon?
Yeah, for its overall package. We had a great day here at the World Test Championship, didn't we? I bet a ticket on that hospitality cost a bomb.
Yeah. Well, our mate who's famously doesn't spend his money has been to that, hasn't he?
That were a freebie for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sorting
that out. Press that red circle. Oh, there we go. That was good for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm slowly getting there in the technological world.
What do you reckon to my my Canva that I made for you for this live watch-along?
It was really good. Posted it on our channels so people could see. Plenty more where that came from. We need these Aussies out now.
Go on then.
10, trail by 10, 2 wickets to get.
Who's your player of the series, Bobby?
Both teams?
Yeah, go on.
I've seen a slow ball there from
I think that's a good idea, that.
I think my player of the series is a bowler. I think it's Mark Wood.
Yeah. Mine would probably... I'd have to say Crawley, with the amount of pressure that was on him.
Player of the series, though?
Yeah. The amount of pressure that was on him coming into this...
I think he would be surprised of the series. The surprise package.
He's the top run scorer currently in the series.
Yeah.
he had so much pressure coming into it, and he kind of set the tone, didn't he? Crawley isn't the reason why Crawley's the reason why we've been ahead in games. And Wood's kind of been the reason why we've been kind of rescued from games. I can see the argument both ways. I just think Crawley's maybe done more than we expected, and therefore I'd give him man of the series, whereas Wood's kind of done what I knew was possible.
Walks must be up there, surely.
Walks will be up there, yeah.
Interestingly, I don't think for Australia, there's not been one. I think Cummins has probably been the best player. Stark's had a good series. They've all just chipped in enough, haven't they? Every player's done a bit. Lavishane's had 100. Smith's had 100. Smith's had a good score today. Kawaja's had 100. Carey's kept well. The pace attack's been consistent. They've caught everything collectively as a team.
It's strange, really, isn't it? Because England could lose this series 3-1, or they could have a really disappointing draw of 2-2. But they probably come away with, or they could theoretically lose it 2-1 if this was a draw, but I don't think it will be.
No, this is a result.
They probably come away the most satisfied in terms of the direction as a side. Do you know what I mean? Where they feel they're going. I won't like sitting up on those roofs. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like England have started to say these are the players that are going to build us for the next 5 years. Australia feel like they're going to have lots of gaps in 18 months' time.
I never get why people are so amused that they're on camera.
I know. I could see you play up to the camera though.
No, I'd be that subtle sort of guy, like the Wimbledon look, like where you don't even know the camera's on you and you're just talking to your peers.
Right. Because who's not coming? Who's not making it for Australia? Then we know who's not making it for England. Or in fact, let's do both sides. Who's not making it to the next Ashes series?
Starting with who?
In Australia. For Australia.
England or Australia?
Australia.
David Warner.
Yeah.
Kawaja.
Yeah.
Smith and Labuschagne, I think, will be there.
Yeah, they'll be there.
Series.
Heads there. Green's there.
Carey's there, I think.
Could see Mitchell Marsh there.
Yeah. Although Mitch Marsh is a bit older than you think, I think. I think he's 34.
Is he?
Yeah. Mitch Marsh is one of them I wondered what that would do. He's quite a popular franchise pick, isn't he?
Yeah.
Whether he could be in his later years go a bit
go full franchise.
Yeah.
Cummins maybe start. Maybe
Cummins
not.
Cummins will be around the next series in Australia, won't he?
Yeah. Hazelwood, Lyon. I think the bowls will probably be there, or the vast majority of the bowlers. I think they've got a bit more.
And that there lies our problem, I think, doesn't it? So long as Labuschagne and Smith are around, and the bowling attack they've got now, I think that equals problems in Australia for England, doesn't it?
And if we go
Lyon
down
as well.
So for the Ashes in Australia, Crawley can be there.
Yep.
Duckett can make it.
Yep.
Pope can make it.
If this team went to Australia now, I'd feel a little bit better. I don't think we necessarily win, but I'd feel we'd put on a better show than previous years.
I'd hope so. Fuck yeah. I think that this
England have got to, whatever they do, they've got to get their fucking pace bowlers fit.
Yeah, that's the problem in it. Is I think this team could go and score runs on those pitches, but can they get some fast bowlers fit? Because you don't take wickets in Australia without a world-class spinner or high-pace bowling, really. But I also agree with Broad. He's always said you don't win many games in Australia if you don't get 450.
Yeah,
it's true as well. We've been crap in Australia.
Terrible. Got Jimmy Anderson back into the attack. Australia need 9 more. Yeah, it's been a tough couple of hours for England, hasn't it? Since after just the before tea, they were really peaking, weren't they?
Yeah, it's just drifted, hasn't it? This session
it has. Movement from Jimmy.
Yeah. I worry about Jimmy though now when it gets like this. He's never been an expert for cleaning up the tail, and then now with a bit of lack of zip, he's one of them.
So we were saying.
So Pope can make it.
Yep.
Root can make it.
Yep.
Brook,
definitely
fine.
Can make it. So you've got a recognisable batting lineup for England, I think.
Not sure if Stokes could make it.
Yeah, it's where his body will hold up.
Oh, you're joking.
Very, very fortunate.
I tell you, that's one thing about Anderson this series is he hasn't had loads of luck.
No, he's not, has he? I don't look at his bowling and think it's terrible, do you? It's just nothing's clicked for him, has it?
Yeah. Bairstow could probably make it unless he has a similar kind of, if these plates and everything that are in his leg kind of curtail his career slightly.
Should we be? I mean, how old's Folks now?
I don't think if this is the brand, I just think Folks is they're more likely to go with someone like Jamie Smith at Surrey or James Rue at Somerset. I don't think Folks will be the next pick.
Who was the chap who came in against New Zealand a few years ago at home? Was it Bracey? Was he a keeper as well?
Yeah, he batted at 3 though, didn't he? He batted at 3 with the gloves.
I think it's a tough time, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he's on the radar at the moment. And then let's look at the bowling lineup. Robinson, fine. Walks is probably fine, but you won't want him there. You don't do it out there. Would he probably be struggling at that point?
Robinson's probably going to be disappointed with his Ashes, isn't he? He probably would like to have more of an impact.
He's not had a good Ashes really, has he, at all? Who else would be bowlers who you'd take out there? Josh Tong. You've got to start having a think about him.
Yeah. Saki Mahmood.
Yeah. I suppose in Australia what you want is tall bowlers. Saki Mahmood is a little bit skiddier.
Do you remember how good Tremlett was the year England won?
Yeah.
Really good.
Like Bryden Cast is a good Australian conditions bowler. Big, tall lad. There will be lads who come through, obviously. There's
happened to the blonde Wood? The other Wood?
Luke Wood.
Luke Wood, yeah.
Still at Lancs. He's just more of a white ball specialist.
Fast, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a bit of pace. I don't think you'd ever really see him in the...
Jamie Overton, do you look at him?
Yeah, another injury basket case.
We just can't keep him fit, can we, the Quicks?
I do wonder what Australia do to keep those fit compared to what England do, because there is a stark difference.
I think climate must have an impact, surely. Lifestyle and climate.
Yeah.
The way you train and your sunlight on your body must have an impact.
I suppose warm weather, you're going to get less kind of
cramps and
muscle injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stress fractures, isn't it, in the spine and stuff that seem to really affect our bowls.
Well, it's one of the things I wanted to talk about because we both, play cricket at grassroots level, and you felt like the sort of coaching available for bowling was obsessed with line and length, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'd never ever, because obviously young, you don't really have the power to do this, but I was never encouraged to bowl short, were you? I
don't think you would do at that pace, would you?
No.
I just mean not taking the piss, more in a sense of unless you get a bit older, you're not going to bowl short. I think more than anything, what we do as an English kind of cricket community is we reject things that look unorthodox.
Yeah.
You won't see Malinga or Muralitharan or Ajintha Mendes come through an England grassroots system, would you really?
No.
That's probably where we lack in the coaching side a little bit of innovation. But with this kind of Bazball approach, maybe you'll see more
off the radar picks.
Yeah, more of an appetite for things that don't necessarily look like the MCC manual.
Well, I'm not saying there's anything particularly wrong with this man's action or his game as such, but Rehan Army was a real off the radar pick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Pakistan, remember that?
Yeah.
A lot of people are actually, taken back by that, weren't they? A lot of county loyalists saying that, we should have who's the next cab on the ranks there, but you could see the appeal in it, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And with the way that they want to play, it seems that I know that I think Ed Smith wrote an article. Someone was talking about this and saying that Ed Smith wrote an article talking about how some of the stuff that he tried to implement as chairman of selectors was starting to come to fruition now in this side. And one of those things that he talks about was having more bowling options. So kind of taking a bit more of a one-day approach. So if we've got players like Rehan Ahmed, even Liam Dawson, who can do a spinning job, maybe a second spinning job, Will Jacks can do that, and be in your top 7, then you start to ask, well, you could get a Sam Curran in there, you can get a Chris Wokes in there, you can just balance your side a little bit better for an almost one-day style setup.
Alex Carey really reminds me of Henry Hill from Goodfellas, the main guy.
I've not seen him.
Looks spitting image of him to me.
Henry Hill.
That's his name.
Is it?
Yeah. It's Ray Loiter. He's passed away now recently, in like last year or so.
Yeah. Is he the one who wore the Adidas tracksuit
Right,
that you love?
Yeah. I do like that film.
Right, it's fading away this day a little bit.
Yeah. Just again, thought we could really make it count, have a good, like a 70-60 lead here. It's such a big thing. Looks like we're going to have to do it the hard way.
Yeah. Which this England side, whether it's been on the route or whether it's been on the Stokes, it's been a generation of doing things the hard way, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other seam ball that's getting the rounds at the moment, everyone's talking about, is a lad called Gus Atkinson, who plays for Surrey. Michael Atherton says that there's a lot of similarities between him and Jofra Archer. Now, I don't think he's anywhere near as fast as Jofra Archer, but he's one of these bowlers who kind of idles into the crease and then it all kind of whips over. A bit of a white ball specialist at first, but has started to come into the Surrey red ball side.
Mm-hmm.
I could see just by the way that the press is starting to talk about him, the Skybox is starting to talk about him, that he might not be a million miles away from the ECB's radar.
All right.
So that'd be good. I suppose that's what you want after a series like this. When people are starting to get a bit older, you want a bit of fun. You want some young players coming through, don't you? Like how excited everyone was for Josh Tong, who doesn't look like a world beater.
No, but given the chance, he's not really done himself any shame, has he?
The one thing about the county system is that all the bowlers who do best are absolute military medium, boring bowlers like Chris Rushworth, who is probably older than Anderson.
Yeah, the boot fits, doesn't it, in county cricket for that sort of thing?
This is like absolutely sacrilege in English cricket Twitter. Anybody who thinks that they absolutely love and adore the game, but would you reduce the 18 counties, or would you be tempted to reduce the 18 counties?
When you say reduce, what do you mean? Do you mean liquidate?
Get rid of some.
Like literally say you're no longer?
As a county championship side. So for example, let me give you an example. There are sides like Buckinghamshire, I think Shrewsbury.
Cheshire one as well.
Yeah, that are considered minor counties. So they play in the minor counties league. Now, would you try and bring in a bit more of an elite system? Elite probably isn't a word, but something that is a little bit more narrow in terms of...
So you're basically you're resurfacing the Andrew Strauss report, aren't you, almost?
I didn't think the Andrew Strauss report went far enough.
I know, but it was absolutely hounded out, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't care. Like, Australia have like 6.
One thing about Australia, though, as much as you might think, big country, it's less population than the UK. It's just very land. It's what's the word? It's a huge landscape, but less population.
Right,
because
let me just check.
A lot of it is inhabitable to live in. So
yeah, but let's scale that, right? And just have a see how many sides we have per.
And they have the grey cricket system as well, don't they?
Yeah, but Australia. So Australia is a third of the population of the UK. And they have 6 sides, so yeah, maybe we have 18 sides. It's a fair point.
I've always been a big believer as the cream rises to the top.
But do we get best playing the best in our county system, do you think? Is it a little bit like spread thinly?
Perhaps.
Because you've seen a lot now of Josh Tong's just gone to Nottinghamshire. Jack Haynes, who's a really well-regarded Worcester batsman, is going to Nottinghamshire at the end of the season. You see that a lot of these big counties do just poach the best players. Lawrence is going from Essex to Surrey at the end of the season. We almost come into a system where you have 6 elite counties: Surrey, Lancashire, Notts.
Yeah, it's probably just bulldozing its way to the top anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think in some ways, like, you need a system that reflects that, just so you make sure that any domestic cricket, county championship cricket that's played, gets the best playing the best.
I don't want to alarm you here, Bob. I don't actually. It doesn't look like a wicket's going to fall here.
No.
And scores are now level.
We've been not shoddy, but we just lacked a little bit of zip again. I suppose the one thing that you could put in England's favour, make excuses for them, give them credit for, is that Moeen's not been on the pitch, so they haven't had a lot of spin to rotate the quicks. So I can understand the quicks are probably getting a little bit fatigued now.
I think we just had to make it count when it did, didn't we?
And good teams are allowed to come back into the game. It's about making sure that if they get a lead of 50, I think that's massive. As I was equally saying, a lead of 50 for us is massive on a low-scoring game like this.
I'd be depressed if they got a 50 lead from
Yeah, it's worrying. Cummins is brilliant at this, though. Australia are really good at this. I think they've learnt from that England side that had Broad and Swan in and Bresnan in as lower order runs. That's how you get success in England, is you need the tail to wag a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're not always going to get it right with the top order batsmen, are you?
No.
So we've got about just short of half an hour left here, Bob.
Yeah.
So what's good for England now? Because you'd think if they got 2 wickets anytime soon, they're going to be put in for a little while, aren't they?
Yeah. So you want to burgle 2 wickets now.
It looks dark all of a sudden now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's gone darker.
I don't think, with the way that these two have played, there's no absolute demons in the pitch, are there? You shouldn't be overly worried if you're the England openers. It's just the frustration of trying to get through these two or get 2 wickets now. Come on.
That's a good piece of fielding, isn't it, by... Is it the subfielder?
I reckon that's a 4. I reckon he's hit the rope as he touches it. Let's have a look. Lawrence, he's been good in the field today. For what it's worth. That's good, that.
Great bit of fielding.
No chance of a catch as well. What we're saying, you've got to get him out, get in, be positive, just get on with it, aren't you? We're not in that scenario anymore where I think opening batsmen from an England side of things should be worried about what time it is, because their approach will be the same no matter what. Is go out there and try and score runs.
Yeah. So
it almost doesn't matter whether it's 6:30, 6:20 tonight, or 11:10 tomorrow morning, as long as they just take the approach that they have been doing.
The thing is, you can't really put yourself in a commanding position tonight, but you can if you're bowling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? 2 wickets tonight would be for them if they
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just don't want to bat tonight, do you? But I think that's a worry, because how many runs are ahead of there at that point? Half an hour is at least 30 runs.
10 minutes for changeover as well, isn't it? So they're not getting loads in here, whatever happens.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a hark back to the old England kind of like way of thinking that. For once in my life, I'm being positive and saying just get them out.
Yeah.
Get batting.
At the minute, it's looking a little difficult.
In terms of planning ahead to the World Cup now, would you leave Stokes out of it? He says that he's retired. Oh, fucking hell.
So just an edge that's not carrying there. That'll be a couple. Yeah, I think so. I think England have got enough talent in there to put a good showing in. Do you?
Yeah, I think
Harry Brook, you'll see him involved, won't you?
Yeah, I think as much as I'd love.
The thing is, the ODI has been so cast aside for so long. I couldn't really tell you what our go-to ODI side is now.
Yeah,
it probably just resembles an elongated T20 line, doesn't it?
So you're saying Burstow will open, won't he?
Roy back in?
Roy could be back in, or they have had Milan opening. Roy and Milan are probably interchangeable for that number 2 spot next to Burstow. Root at 3. Brook at 4. You're looking at whether you could play a Milan at 4. Middle order kind of batsman would be, you've got Duckett around, and then Livingston, Ali, 5, 6, Butler, 5, 6, 7. And then the bowlers are probably Curran, Rashid, try and get Archer back. I won't play Wood until then, No, I'd leave him out. Give him a big rest. Try and get him fit for the World Cup. I think you're going to need him in India. And then probably likes of Chris Jordan around. I wouldn't bother. I don't know. Stokes feels like he's one big injury away from ending his career at any moment, doesn't he?
He almost feels like he's limping his way through this series just to get himself over.
So I'd just say come and play. Next time you come and play for us, it'll be January. Have the rest of the year off.
It's a real blow, this bot, Murphy being 30 on that out.
Is that what he's on now?
I think he is, yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, you're buzzing if you're in Australia's shoes here now, aren't you?
This is a real psychological boost, this. But, again, if England can put on a good batting display, you don't know where this pitch is going to be at, do you? Day 3, day 4.
I do worry now, though, because like I've said, I know I'm always too negative for you.
Ali.
But we're 5 for 1. So every run that they get, you've got to say, right, 5 for 1, 6 for 1, because of the Ali situation. I know it's not absolute.
Nathan Lyon came out and batted on Wally.
I know he could come out and bat number 11. It's just.
Let's be honest. He's. I know he showed a bit resolved in the last Test match, but it's his game, his boundaries, isn't it?
Yeah. I just mean from Australia. I think that the psychology of the game now is shifting heavily into Australia's favour, in the sense of they've just got a lead. Ali's injured. England needs to sort that out. It's been such a yo-yo series, hasn't it? I mean, imagine if England had won that Old Trafford Test match now. Like, what the stakes
I think
in this kind of situation?
Despite it being a good Test match, it does still feel a little bit flat in the context of where the rest of the series has been. I haven't been as like, as connected to this Test match as the other ones, just because of where the stakes are at.
And that's all. I'd say Australians are probably similar. Probably not. I don't know.
Like I said on the podcast earlier this week, didn't he? Cam Green said it's a strange feeling at the minute.
Yeah.
Because they kind of know they got out of jail with that one.
I feel like these Australians sometimes, this side especially, are a bit overly polite, aren't they?
Very modest, aren't they?
Yeah. It's working for them.
England have kind of almost been like the Australians, haven't they?
Yeah, bullish.
Bullish, overconfident, backing themselves.
5-0, yeah.
I mean, Mitch Marsh has got his jumper on. I think they're looking at this thinking that they're backing these two to see the day out.
Yeah.
Hazel was delighted.
It's been tough, this. Tough watch the last hour or so. What do you reckon? I'm starving, mate.
I know. I think watching this makes you that hungry, frustrated, kind of hangry kind of feel, doesn't it? Like I said, I'm not seeing a load of like wicket opportunities. We're seeing these two look really in.
Yeah.
This is one other thing as well. I know we've got Wood in the team, but I still always think that they're capable. 8, 9, and 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm never like when we get past Carey. I'm never thinking right, we're there now. I'm always thinking, well, someone like Stark can stick around or something. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Whereas if any other team in the world, once you get past 1 to 6, you're fairly confident that you're almost there, aren't you? You've arrived.
There aren't many competitive teams left in the world,
That's
are there?
what I mean, yeah.
If we got England, I was starting to think the other day when I was walking home from work. We've obviously talked about the Test Cricket Roadshow in the past. What about Tri-Series?
Yeah, Tri-Series could be a good one.
We've seen that in ODIs. Could you do Tri-Series in tests?
You could, couldn't you?
Australia, England.
Well, you could latch, maybe not. You could latch the poorer sort of nations onto the bigger nations. So if you go in tour in India, you've got Bangladesh in there as a free.
Yeah,
or Sri Lanka, and you tag on New Zealand and maybe South Africa in Australians one.
Yeah,
I think that'd be quite good.
You could do
one thing I'm looking forward to is I think go on, finish your point because I think you're on something there.
The one thing I was saying was imagine like a tri-series of Australia, India, England. Could do that outside of Ashes. There will be Ashes series, but you could shut that window.
Bit of rain.
You could have it where you do tri-series of Australia, India, England, South Africa, Australia, England would be good.
One thing I will say, I've watched Pakistan. I've not watched. I've followed Pakistan. Have trounced Sri Lanka in goal, haven't they? I think Pakistan are quietly creeping up to sort of compete with some of the bigger nations.
Yeah.
I see a bit of potential there. Do you? They've
I
got
do.
Test cricket back on home shores, so I think they're a bit, boosted by that.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised to see them sort of give a couple of teams a game over the next couple of years. It's a shame they're not. I think that'd be quite a good home series for England next year. Pakistan coming over.
Yeah.
But we've got Sri Lanka and the West Indies, which I think, sadly, for Test cricket's sake, that'll be a bit of a non-contest.
I know.
Kemar Roach can't be coming over again.
Shannon Gabriel.
Not mind Gabriel. He's
Jason
quite
Holder.
quick, isn't he?
They've got a bowling lineup that can do a bit
Just
in England.
runs, innit?
It's just runs, yeah.
Looks like once you break down the defence of Brathwaite, there's not loads of sort of resolve there, is there?
Yeah. And yeah, with the amount of time that England put into the games these days, you don't want to buy a day 4 ticket for any of them. Never mind day 5. I think they'll be quick test matches. Who was saying it on commentary before? I can't remember who it was. It might have been Mark Taylor. That he thinks that tests will go to 4 days soon with the way that people are playing. I don't actually. That's out. That's plum. You've got to get Hazelwood here. Got to get him. Unless he's hit it, that looks absolutely plum.
He's my favourite umpire. Have you seen the Twitter account where he has pictures with the losers and finals?
No.
Like after every major game, he sort of he officiates. He has selfies
right.
He doesn't ask for the consent of the actual player. They just kind of look and he's there smiling.
Right.
And he did one for the World Cup final. I think he's got maybe Josh Butler who's smiling. He has one of Kane Williamson who just absolutely does not want to fucking pitch with the umpire that's just given fucking 5 runs or whatever it was for an overthrow. That you could have actually had a better team than New Zealand to sort of handle that. I think if it had been anybody else.
Imagine Australia.
Imagine India.
Oh my god.
We're replaying it now.
Have you seen the Australia women's captain? What she's been up to?
The Australians or the Indian women?
Sorry, the Indian women.
She twatted the stumps, didn't she?
Yeah, and then she said that the umpires were working for Bangladesh, and that might be missing. Ooh, umpire's call.
We'll have it. We need it.
Yeah, we need it. Right, got to get Hazelwood now. Fucking hell.
If you're batting first in the second innings, are you favoured by chasing a low score? Do you think be honest, take your support for England and you're either for Australia. If you were just watching a neutral game now, do you think you're advantaged by batting first in the second innings when you've not got much to chase from a lead perspective?
Who's on top? Are you asking me, or who do I want to be as a neutral?
As a neutral, whose position would you rather be in? Would you rather be England chasing 5 and then putting a score on, or would you rather be?
I'm guessing you want me to take out the Moeen Ali situation.
Yeah, just as two sides fit going at each other.
I probably want to chase. I think that's the modern cricket way. I think that anything around the 300 mark, whether it's 320 down to 280 and below, modern cricket teams just think we can chase this. And pitches have been good in this series. So I would, although it's not the way that Australia play, I think that I'd be confident if you could get them out for around 280, given it's day 2 now. You're not playing on a minefield if you're chasing it. But I don't think Australia are absolute experts of playing that kind of cricket. So they do default to a bit of the old school of if England went and got a lead of 280, that's tough for Australia to chase. But I think England are going to need to get to about 320 at lead just because of the time that's in the game.
Yeah, it's early still, isn't it?
Yeah. And no spinner. No specialist spinner is a bit of an issue. Bowling last.
Yeah, Root's done a job, hasn't he? But
they've bowled a lot of overs these lot now, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've all got up to 20 overs this innings.
Relieved there, England, aren't they?
Yeah.
You would be.
He loves it.
Young lad.
Day out at Test cricket is still a massive part of kind of young English cricket sporting fans, isn't it?
Of course it is. I went to the races at the weekend at Chester and I said it's got nothing on going to the Test match this.
Oh, the races. I don't actually think it's anything to do with the races. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no
You could say that about cricket, I suppose.
I mean, like, if you weren't a cricket fan, you went to the cricket, you'd be at least around people that would be able to help you. I feel very distant when I go to the race. It's almost like I don't belong there because I'm not into gambling.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't got a clue really about the horses, have you?
Yeah, it's very back and forth to put a bet on and stuff in it. It is quite gambling centric.
I feel like the old people that would have gone, it's been glorified to what it is, races over the years. I think as we've got through decades, it's become more of a day out than like an actual passion for people. You don't see devout sort of racing fans at those kind of events, do you? They're at like Wolverhampton and places like that, aren't they? Whereas if you went to cricket, you're getting genuine fans.
Oh. Cummins is going to have a little bit of a go now, isn't it?
Well, that was
Hazelwood. They'll both have a go. Oh, come on, Wokes. Do us a favour.
You get what I was saying, though, about the race experience.
Yeah.
I think Ascot might be an exception.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that, innit, probably.
Yeah, could be Ascot. There's no point spending loads of money if you don't even enjoy the sport you're watching, is there?
Of course, we're going to be a bit sparse of options in the north, aren't we, in the next couple of years, regards to watching cricket? We're being suffocated of it, aren't we?
I do think there are test matches. It's just that 2027. I don't know.
I thought there was not a test match till 2027 in the north.
No, that's wrong. There's no Ashes test match in 2027 in the north.
Are we getting one next year?
Let me have a look for you.
I think this might just be an Old Trafford thing.
50% of 50% of England's test matches next summer at Lords.
You need to stop talking to me in percentages because all I can all I can think of in percentages is the weather report last week of looking at rain. Do you get me?
Yeah.
They wrecked our screen.
Let me have a look. ECV home test schedule 2024. I know that half of our tests are at Lords next year, which I don't think is great. That isn't great, is it? Come on. Well, you're a big fucking Lords file, aren't you?
I just don't get hung up in like the jealousy of people.
No, it's not jealousy. It's just if we have fucking
people have money and people have less money. I don't ever
think
have
that's
that envy sort of
attitude. I don't think that's anything to do with it, right? This is about.
You can still go to Lords. There's not this stigma that like it costs $6,000 to get in Lords.
No, it's not. It's right.
I think we pay like less than our Old Trafford ticket.
So do you know the England football team play every game at Wembley? Do you not think it's good when they play some games at Old Trafford?
Yeah, but I don't really sleep over it.
No, but like it's good, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So if we've got 6 test matches next year, half of them shouldn't be at one venue. It's just shit.
So what's at Lords next year then?
Test series. So the first game is at Lords. Then you've got one at Trent Bridge. Then you've got one at Edgbaston. Then you've got one at the Oval. One at the Oval, one at Lords, and one at Old Trafford. So you've got one in the north. So I think that's a reasonable distribution, but it's not half. Who was saying it was half? It was Yas Rana. It's a third.
Just with all the different blends of cricket and.
Oh, yeah, he might have been saying half are in London.
Right.
Lords, Oval, and I must admit, almost I think if you have 6 tests over summer, 2 series of 3. You should just have 6 different venues. I don't think that you need to have fucking for every team need to come over and have to play at Lords.
Well, I think it's popular amongst visitors, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. What would I do there? So there's none at Headingley. I'd probably say Lords, Trent Bridge, Edgbaston, Old Trafford, Headingley, the Oval. What's wrong with that?
It's just continuity, isn't it? It's I think I said it. This ground, they've got the best grounds for this series. You've got to look at capacity. You've got to look at the sort of diversity across the country, and I think this has got it spot on.
Yeah,
but I'm saying 5 test matches.
But I'm saying next year hasn't got it spot on. I think that's the important thing, is to make sure that every year gets it spot on. I don't think that we should.
You don't think we should waste opportunities? The Test cricket windows should maximise them as best.
Yeah. I think that
is maximising it, not bringing it to the Rose Bowl though.
That's what I'm saying. Is so instead of having 2 test matches at Lords next year, why can't one be going to the Rose Bowl or one be going to Headingley? Because
there's a lot dubbed on the Lords Test, isn't there? I think it's like a showcase piece of the summer.
In this era where we're saying that if you got 6 and over in Test cricket, that's an innovation that's completely radical completely new way of thinking about Test cricket. Why can't we transpose that to Test cricket scheduling as well? Is that just because what's gone before has always been, doesn't mean that we have to keep it that way. And you could just have it. First Test of the summer is always at Lords. Last Test of the summer is always at the Oval. But if you've got 3 tests against West Indies and 3 tests against Sri Lanka, you don't have to have first test against West Indies at Lords and first test. Because you could get yourself into a right pickle where it's like 3 tests and then 3 tests. So you're going Lords, Old Trafford, the Oval, Lords, Edgbaston, the Oval.
It's that awkward number, isn't it?
It's just so I think if we are really invested in spreading Test cricket and keeping it alive,
why not put? Here's one for you. Why not do what we do this year and put a fixture on with a lesser nation? So invite a Bangladesh, or invite an Afghanistan for a Lords Test match, and do it that way, where they get to come to Lords, they get the experience. England does the bit, everyone's happy.
I think that if we
put more Test cricket on,
more Test cricket. And more Test cricket in different venues around the country.
And people might say, "Oh well, or the schedule," but it's the schedule what people want. Do you know what I mean? In this country alone, forget what other people say and all that. People will not be disappointed by more Test matches.
And to be honest, let's face it, right?
If they said they're going to scrap the 100 now and invite Pakistan over for a 4-match series, you'd be fucking delighted.
Yeah. And let's put it in a different.
Maybe it's too much, but
If we put it in a different light. Sorry, I would be delighted. That'd be amazing. I just realised what you said later on. Say, from a TV viewing perspective, the Lord's Test match, although it's got lots of pageantry around it, is usually the least enjoyable from a Sky viewing perspective.
Usually, but we were a good Test match against New Zealand.
So like the atmosphere at Headingley is so kind of far and away as a TV viewer better than what you get at Lords. And I'm not slamming Lords here. I'm just saying that it's good to have lots of tests in lots of venues over the summer so that you get everybody buying into it.
Bad news when Hazelwood looks set in it.
Yeah, it's a bit. Well, in some ways, it's good news that it shows that there's not loads of demons in this.
Give England what the other dues. They bowled well this morning, this afternoon. They've earned the right to be around here, haven't they? Even if they've not got a lead anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think yesterday when there was just 1 wicket down, to me it stunk of a day today of Steve Smith Labuschagne and it becoming.
You said that you thought
Steve Smith 100.
Yeah.
Did you not feel the same?
I did worry for us although they didn't really go anywhere this
Ed
morning.
Down yesterday as well, didn't they?
Just felt like it was starting to tick along for them. And then we just had a great afternoon session, I must admit. Australia have come back into it. It's been the way of this series. It's going to be a little bit of a tempter here for Cummins with Root. What they're going to do, put everyone back on the boundary. That'd be a bad idea.
Don't like that, do you?
No.
Oh, we're just trying to get through the day. 5 minutes left. Just get it done. Come back tomorrow.
Yeah. Just have one over, see what Cummins wants to do with it. Get Wood on tomorrow, first thing fresh. Wood and Walks. Would you start with?
I think I would, yeah.
Root's got a bit of a beard going on these days, hasn't
he? Yeah, he likes the messy look sometimes, doesn't he? Where's Root at with ODIs?
It's just staple, isn't it? The way I see it. Absolute ODI staple. He's a must-have in the side, really, isn't
he?
For
sure.
India,
Massively.
It's this as well. He can give you a few overs.
Here we go.
Catch that. Go on.
Oh, what a catch.
Well done. And that's the end of the day,
isn't it? Safe, by the way.
He looks pretty confident, doesn't he?
At the start of the day, if you'd offered England to have a chasing 12 at the end of the day, you'd probably take it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be all right. I'd be all right with that.
The way you've got to look at it, it's a buy and a 4 in Europe parity, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think, Bot, that's probably where we depart now, isn't it?
Yeah, let's just check whether this was out. Is that Cummins walking off?
Cummins,
looks relatively happy with it.
England seem fairly.
I mean, either way, it is the end of the day, isn't it? Because everyone's pissing around so much still.
There's stewards on the pitch, isn't there? This is brilliant, this.
Gets it out. Yeah, fine. Back over. Yeah. He's some fielder Stokes, isn't he?
Yeah. He's done a lot of them, hasn't he? When he was a bit more athletic and he was less hindered by his knee, he did some phenomenal stuff when he was younger, didn't he?
Yeah, so there it is. Right, they lead by 12, pretty much parity. England.
Good test cricket.
Yeah.
Can't complain. The series continues to deliver. That's been our last live show at the Ashes. We've enjoyed doing these. We're going to do more, especially for the World Cup, I think, aren't we? We've lined that up. So thank you for everyone that's joined us, and we'll see you on our next podcast.
See you then. Cheers.